Honey, what are you listening to?
Mom!
Your teen might not share everything with you, but teens share everything with each other. And certain everyday behaviors, like sharing food, drinks, or kisses, could mean sharing bacteria that can cause meningococcal disease, known as meningitis. Although meningitis is uncommon, about 1 in 10 who develop it will die. Ask your teen's doctor about missing meningitis vaccinations. Learn more at meningitis.com. Vaccination may not protect all recipients. Sponsored by GSK.
AI is heavily hindering the police investigation going on with the Nolan Wells case. If you all have not heard about this case, it is a highly, controversial case that's going on right now, where Nolan Wells, an 18-year-old African-American, went to Horn Island in Mississippi with all of his white buddies, and they essentially left him, and he now has turned up drowned. And he was left there without his phone or his keys. And the big central part of this thing that I'm talking about, the AI hindering this case, is there's this video that went around that showed him arguing with his friends about him demanding to get his phone back, and they're not wanting to give the phone back, and then they leave him. Now police are saying that they cannot even trust that video because it has AI tags in the, in the log screen, like when you look at all the files of the actual computer files of that video, there's AI detection in it. And they don't know what AI has been altered to that. They don't know if it was just somebody filmed it with an AI filter. They don't know if the whole video is AI. They don't know if maybe the words are AI. They're not sure. And they're saying that they've gotten a ton of different photos and videos about this case because there was about 200 people on this island over 4th of July weekend when Nolan Wells was left there. And there's contradicting stories. The friends are saying, hey, he met some girl and he was going to stay there with that girl. And the girl is like, no, he went back with his friends. And so somebody's lying, and there is a possibility that he did drown on his own because, it's a party. His parents are saying that he wouldn't party like that, with drugs and drinking. But the toxologist reports have not came back in yet. So it is possible that he was just drunk, got in the water and drowned. And it was a misunderstanding between the friends and the girl. What people can't get past is why did his friends that left him have his phone still and his keys? Most 18-year-old kids, or men, however you want to say this, would not be abandoning their phones. And apparently he was super active on social media all the time, so he was a very phone-dependent person, just like how almost all of us are today. So there's a lot of leading theories here, and we're going to get in that in a second. But the police are begging people to please give us original photo and video files because apparently that's what's stalling them is all these photos they're getting, all these videos they're getting are having AI tags in them. And the problem with this is they can't tell if it's AI filters, AI wording, AI videos in general. It can't be used in court. It can't be used to help their investigation if they don't even know if it's real or not in the first place. And that is the world we live in now. That's scary that's the point we are at as people, is that now law enforcement can't even take, used to, if you had a photo or a video of somebody doing something, hey, it's stone cold fact, they were doing it. Now you can completely fabricate a video of me doing anything. You can, and that goes for anybody that there's ever been a photo or video of. You guys have seen all these prank videos online where somebody will film a person in town and then go make an AI video and then go show that person that video going, hey, was that you doing this? That's the day and age we live in. The police are also upset that people seem to want to post these pictures and videos online without actually giving it to the police. Why post it on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram if you're not going to give it to the police? And that's a harder thing for them to do because when you post it to TikTok or Snapchat or all this other stuff, you could have edited or changed it in some way, shape, or form. And they're just pleading for people to give them the original files. We're going to get in a little bit to the case now, okay? And before I do, I'm going to say the last thing, and this is kind of mean. Me and my wife, we know this girl that's 40 years old. Every single picture that she has on her Facebook, her TikTok, her Instagram, every single picture I have ever seen of this woman, she looks like a 24 to 25-year-old. And in person, that is absolutely not what she looks like. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in the background of these photos or these pictures that people are sending into the police, if they've been AI filtered, you can't pick people out of a lineup because that girl, that 40-year-old woman that we know, that presents herself essentially as a 25-year-old girl because of all the heavy filters that she uses all the time, if she were to commit a crime in person and then you showed somebody that the crime happened to a picture of her on Facebook, they'd be like, that is not her. That is not the person who did this to me. And we joke about this all the time. I know several people like this, but specifically her. I have never, ever, ever seen a posted picture of her on any of her profiles that were not so heavily edited that it looks like an entirely different person. So once again, that's why they're urging people, please don't have all this AI stuff on there. And they're essentially exposing young people that nothing you see on the internet is real, because they're like, we've looked at like 85 photos and videos, and all of them almost have some kind of AI enhancement to them of some kind. So we're going to get back into the case a little bit. Nolan Wells, this was going to be between, I believe, his senior year and starting college. He was a 18-year-old athletic, a guy. He shouldn't have been a weak swimmer. This is something that his parents are very, very, they're not wanting to believe that he could have drowned on his own. And we don't know that yet or not. We just know that he did drown, but they don't know if he drowned yet for internal injuries. His body shows no external injuries. So if somebody did punch him or hit him or whatever, it didn't leave a mark. So, but that doesn't mean that somebody couldn't have held him under the water, or, he was pushed off of a boat out in the middle of the ocean and he just washed up back towards, this area, because they didn't find his body right at Cape Horn. Cape Horn, by the rescue workers, when they were told to go looking for him, when neither party said that he'd came back, the island itself is too thick for somebody that did not even have shoes with him, that was just wearing swim trunks, to have walked into. There's apparently cactus everywhere. There's sharp, thorny plants everywhere. It's just not a place. It's very rocky and just hard on your feet. You would not want to walk into this area. So if he stayed there, he would have stayed kind of on the coast of the shore, or like in the knee-deep water, which is what a lot of people do, is they wade around and they throw footballs and they float on the tube and they drink and they have fun out in the wading water and the beach there on this island in Mississippi, which is why everybody is now turning to the racial card. Is he was one, black young man with 4 white young men, and one of the young men that he was with, his mom just happens to be the local judge. So immediately people are going, did something happen in this case where they're sweeping things under the rug because that's the judge's son that was with him and it was mishandled? Also, people are saying that they are not wanting to report the situation for what it was, because if there was drugs and alcohol involved, all these kids are minors. Obviously, everybody involved in this story is a minor so far. Or if there was drugs involved, the judge's son's definitely not going to get, caught up with any kind of drug stuff. So people are already worried. Like, his family is so untrusting of the local law enforcement that they have actually not even turned over his personal phone to law enforcement. I didn't even know you could do that. I thought if there was like a murder or a crime or suspicion of it, that they would automatically, put out a warrant, get your phone. But because he was the victim in this case, I guess they can't do that, or they're not doing that, because the family still has his phone and they are hiring outside tech experts to go through his phone and see if there was anything deleted, because the mom found his phone. The phone was not given back to the family. She found his phone from like Live 360 or whatever and saw that his phone came back from the island. So she assumed he was coming back from the island, but no, it was with the other friends. So she went there because she couldn't get a hold of him and got the phone back. Another weird thing about this case is, for some reason, the Coast Guard was notified about 11 p.m. the night that he went missing. The night before, I guess this was before anybody realized he was missing, because his mom hadn't even been told yet. At 11 p.m., the Coast Guard was notified, and somebody, they have not released who called the Coast Guard in yet. I don't know if it's because that person that called was a minor, or if they're just protecting their identity. I don't know, but they called the Coast Guard, and it was one of his friends. So they knew something had to have been wrong, because they called the Coast Guard and said, hey, can you go look for him? And the Coast Guard said, this is not a problem that concerns us as of yet. It is undetermined what that conversation was that led them to believe they should not get involved or go looking for somebody who might be missing in the water. And to help you guys out, Mississippi does, like, a lot of people don't realize that Mississippi does touch the ocean. So just to let you guys know, it does. A lot of people don't think about it, but it does barely a little bit touch the ocean, but it does. So anyhow, we know that. Shortly after that, that same friend called his mom to tell him, like, hey, he's missing, he's not, and whatever. And that's when the mom went and got the phone. Okay. Moving forward, a lot of people, I feel like, are not talking about the girl enough, because police asked the friends what happened. They said, hey, he was getting along with this girl. He wanted to stay back and hang out with her. And the girl was saying, yeah, we hung out for a little bit, but then he was going to go back with his friends. Automatically, that is 2 suspicious parties, because did he really go back with the friends? And that argument we saw in that video was real. And there was just AI filters overlaying, and the friends abandoned him. And maybe the girl didn't know that they abandoned him, and so she's telling the truth, thinking he went back with the friends. Or maybe he did say, hey, I'm going to hang back with this girl, and he just forgot his phone on the boat, and then they left, and then he, because he might have realized 30 minutes after they left, crap, I left my phone in the boat. That could have very well happened. And he had told his friends these people had already agreed to give me a ride back. His parents are fighting so hard, saying that we grew up with a family rule of the group you go with is the group you come back with, which is a very specific, weird family rule. I mean, every family's different. I grew up never having that rule. In high school and college, if there was a whole bunch of us that we knew going to a party or going to, things together, yeah, I might ride here with this guy and, ride back with that guy or, whatever the situation is, because different people want to go home at different times. Like, to me, that's not that big of a deal. But his family's making this huge deal about, we always taught him, stay, whatever group you go with is the group you stay with. Folks, we were all young. When we go to the bars and stuff, like if me and my buddies went to the bar and one of them found a girl that they wanted to go home with, none of us were going to say, buddy, you can't go with her. You're coming with us. None of us were doing that to each other. Okay. So if he found a girl that he wanted to stay and hang out with, I'm sure his buddies not only agreed to it, but encouraged it. Like, hell yeah, man. Oh, you're going to ride back with her group? My question is, why isn't her group being looked at closer? Right now, they're so locked in on those 4 boys because they had the phone and his keys when they came back. Okay? They're so locked in on them. Everybody in every comment section I've ever said says it was those guys who did something to them. And they might have. But what I'm thinking is weird, and if you look at young people that are murdered, most of it is over a love interest. Almost every time. And if those 4 boys were cool with him staying with her, that leads me to believe, who was the group of people that she was with that was going to give a ride back to him? Because was one of those a boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend or maybe somebody who wanted to be a boyfriend and got jealous? And maybe she's saying that he went back with his original friends to protect her group of people or her family? That's what I'm like, why aren't we looking closer there? Like that, to me, that makes more sense. So either way you want to look at it, there's going to be a lot of stuff about this case coming out soon because we're going to get a toxicology report back soon. All these tech analysts are still having to heavily look through all these files to see what has been altered or changed about these photos or videos because, like I said, right now they don't know if any of it is fact or if all of it's fact, and it was just there was an AI filter on it that made it look more colorful or vibrant because people often do that just to make the leaves look brighter or the sand look better or the water look better. Like, people do that a lot. And most of these pictures that he's in the background of were people taking pictures of like themselves and the groups and the settings and all this stuff. So most people, once again, especially if they're using Snapchat like young people are, put filters and all kinds of other things over that. So they're trying to figure out what's what in this situation. But like to me, that is everything about this case is really odd and really weird. And it might come out that everybody is fueling this big hate crime going on right now. Because right now it's what everybody's calling it, is a hate crime. Because they're like, whether it was that group or this group, it was a bunch of white people and he was the only African-American dude there. And that's why he was singled out. And it could come out at the very end of this that it is just a tragic accident of too much drinking and he might have gotten the water and had a leg cramp or got, I don't know. You never can tell with these kinds of situations whatsoever. It could just be all a tragic accident. So we'll see as it's going further moving into this. The main reason I wanted to make this video in the first place was to just show the direction that civilians and law enforcement will have in the future, like their interactions. All this AI stuff could be the downfall of what little remains of a justice system. If you want to stay updated on these cases or my weird controversial stories that I do sometimes and my conspiracy theories and stuff, follow the podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify. It's called Matt from Nomads. If you're watching me on TikTok, please don't watch me on Facebook instead. It's called Nomads Animal Encounter, just like it is on TikTok, as it is on Facebook. And I would love to have you there. If you have YouTube, it's called Nomads Animal Reserve. And if you really enjoyed this story today, Annie Elise has a full deep dive on this, like an hour-long version of what I just did. I did just like 10 minutes or so. She has an hour-long version that deep dives further into this. A mother has been arrested for eating her 4-year-old son last week. This happened in Australia. So as of 8 days ago, this is the photo of the mom and the son. Their faces are blurred out and their identities are still hidden right now because the investigation is ongoing. Revealing the mother would reveal the child, most likely, especially with social media today. Turns out the mom had a pretty clean record except for like a few drunk driving incidents that happened like years ago, a long time ago. But 18 months ago, they're not releasing all the details yet. 18 months ago, Child Services was contacted about the pair. More details have not been released yet, so you're probably about to hear a lot about this and a bunch of true crime stuff. But she called the police on herself, I guess, is what I'm understanding. And she told the police when they arrived that she had eaten part of her son. So it's a weird cannibalist like situation right now. So she has been sent off for mental testing. We're going to find out if like drugs were involved, if she had some kind of severe crazy mental break, or what's going on here. We just don't know yet. His cause of death has not even been released yet. But I've been sent this story a lot this week. Like, people keep sending it to me, and I'm like, I want to cover it more when I know more details. But right now, that's all we know. So never mind, it's actually more weird. She didn't call the police on herself. She left the home with the child's body inside, walked to the police station, and then turned herself in and said a welfare check needs to be conducted at her home. She did not say what had happened at her home. When the police got there, they saw the grisly scene, which many of them had described as the worst thing that they had ever thought about possibly seeing. If you want to stay up to date on these stories, especially if you're on TikTok, don't watch me on TikTok. Please watch me on Facebook or Spotify or Apple Podcast. It's called Matt from Nomads over there, and our Facebook has the same name, Nomads Animal Encounter. I'm on a TikTok hiatus. Go elsewhere.